It's all played out exactly how former FBI agent Tracy Walder predicted when she spoke to 60 Minutes earlier this year after armed raids on Combs's Miami and Los Angeles properties. She knew then it would take 6 months at least before agents would have enough evidence to arrest him.
It was very clear that a lot of the information that they got was from digital evidence that was taken from the raid.
A lot of the stuff we're reading in this pretty heinous indictment could be on video as proof.
I feel a good 80 to 90% of what we see in the indictment is from video evidence because it takes time. It takes months to go through that evidence to identify who some of these victims and witnesses are, to reach out to them, to then hope that they will be willing to testify.
The confronting allegations are laid out in graphic detail in Combs's 14-page indictment. In it, he's accused of trafficking women and male sex workers to perform depraved freak-offs, drug-fuelled sex parties for his own twisted enjoyment, and, so brutal, those involved required IV drips to rehydrate. Prosecutors claim Combs filmed the freak-offs to ensure the continued obedience and silence of the victims. And if that wasn't shocking enough, firearms, narcotics, and 1,000 bottles of lubricant were seized from Combs's properties.
I believe the indictment is the tip of the iceberg.
That's a scary thought, isn't it?
It's an incredibly scary thought. I mean, there's countless victims who we likely won't know the identities of, but my hope is that they get some sense of justice from this.
For years, those alleged victims felt they were denied justice. It took a lawsuit from Combs's former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, and this leaked video of his 2016 assault of her for people to finally believe his accusers. As scrutiny builds on Diddy and his closest supporters, Tracy Walder suspects they may be the ones to bring down his empire.
There's no charges against them yet, and I think that that is for a reason, because they are cutting deals with them to testify against Diddy.
So people in Diddy's inner circle could be turning against him?
I think that they may turn against him. It depends on what is being offered to them. Whether the opportunity to not serve time in jail, I don't know where they're going with that, because it obviously depends on what their involvement was in these freak-offs, in trafficking individuals across state lines, whether or not the government is willing to accept a plea deal from them.
For now, Sean Combs is defiant and has pleaded not guilty to all charges. But locked up in one of New York's most notorious and violent prisons, the Brooklyn Metropolitan Detention Center, Combs may never be a free man again. Former federal agent Tracy Walder says it's an open and shut case that may still provide more surprises.
I do suspect more people could be caught up in this. I also think that more charges, quite frankly, could be brought against Diddy as they unfold this investigation. And so I think it will be very interesting to see how all of this shakes out. Combs is facing no shorter than life in prison, and I do think that he will be found guilty.
You can also find out more about the Combs case on Extra Minutes. Diddy's case is that he's formed this protective group around him who would do his bidding. That's the accusation here, and that's the racketeering side of things. That's Extra Minutes, the 60 Minutes podcast, available on your favourite podcast apps.